Chicago!
Those of you in the back, if you want to come up, there are some phenomenal seats in the front. Marge told me I couldn't spit on you tonight, so I won't. Please come up. Thank you. Thank you all for being here. Give yourselves a round of applause. And give it up for TJ, our wonderful musician on the keys. Alrighty, we are so glad you guys are all here. Welcome to Show Up Chicago, a community gathering and political panel show. My name is Maureen Kuhl, and on behalf of all of my pals here at Indivisible Blue Beginning, we are so glad you are here tonight. Thank you. Whether you are a returner or this is your first time, we're very, very glad you're here. A big shout out to the Hideout for hosting us. Thank you very much. Please be sure to get drinks often and please tip the bartenders. They are so wonderful. So, for those of you who were here last month, we got into some legal nitty-gritty about what Trump is doing to subvert the rule of law, and what legal issues we should be caring about the most when it feels like everything is on fire. So who was here last month? Amazing! Give yourselves a round of applause. Thank you all for being here. We heard from some folks from the ACLU of Illinois and Northwestern Law School. They reminded us that while Trump is dismantling the rule of law really never existed for certain groups of people. They encouraged us to keep at it, keep making our calls, and keep showing up. So thank you all for doing that once again. And if you weren't here last month and are curious about that conversation, it is like full of phenomenal nuggets of information. Please go to Facebook and look up Blue Beginning. You can see the whole conversation there. So it's May now. What's next? What do we do next? I'm sure everyone in this room has heard of the terms grassroots organizing. But what do they actually mean? And what does it look like? So when I first hear grassroots, I think, grass. And we've got roots. But what I really know that it is, it looks like this. It looks like this. Yes. It looks like us in this room talking before we get started. That is grassroots. And when I first hear the word organizing, of course, I think of my favorite local store at a strip mall. Of course. But I actually know that it is this. If you don't know, that's Barack Obama. We have been doing grassroots organizing for so long and have created such large movements that Republicans have actually gotten a little jealous. And they've tried to give it a go themselves. During the 2024 election, Elon Musk poured millions of dollars into door-knocking efforts in key swing states, which ended up not working for a number of reasons, including, but not limited to, Musk's Get Out the Vote canvassers not knowing they were door-knocking for Trump. It didn't work because money can't buy this. Yes. Money can't buy reaching out to your neighbor to come to a rally with you. Money can't buy talking to your family and friends about issues that matter to you. So tonight, our panel is going to dig deeper into the roots of grassroots. We are going to be talking small neighborhood groups. We're going to talk large rallies. We're going to talk elections and how people are at the heart of it. So that's why we invited our wonderful guests here tonight, leaders of three of the most impactful progressive organizations we know, to tell us what they do and how you all can help. So tonight we're going to hear from Anu Sarda of Swing Left Chicago, Kevin Naglich, who just organized a new Indivisible Chicago chapter in the Northwest Side, and Reid McCollum, Program Outreach Director for the Progressive Turnout Project. Yay, we're so excited to have them, yes. Marge and Tom will give them better introductions than that. But tonight's panel is being recorded for a podcast and radio show, so time is tight up here. So are our microphones. They will conduct the panel up here first, and our panels will not be able to answer your questions during the show. But we will have an audience Q&A immediately following. So you should have a note card on your seat. If not, we have some more out by the bar. If you would like to ask a question after the panel, please write down your thoughts and have your question ready to go, so that when we get to the Q&A portion, we can be succinct and concise and really wonderful for our great panelists. So thank you all for being here. I will now pass it off to Blue Beginning's own Marge Halprin and Tom Moss.
Welcome to Show Up Chicago. I'm stuck here, sorry, hang on. We're a community gathering and political panel show presented monthly here at the Hideout. I'm Tom Moss. This is Marge Halprin. We're part of the leadership team for Indivisible Blue Beginning. Come on up, guests. Come on up, find a seat. This month, we're learning more about organizing, who does it best, how they do it, how you can become involved, and how you can even organize your own network, your own group, if you decide to. We know that rallying in the streets is an important piece of our project, but there's a lot more to do, and you are all here because you want to do more. Okie doke. That's why we're very well scripted. That's why we've invited our guests tonight as leaders of three of the most impactful progressive organizations. So please welcome Anu Sarda of Swing Left Chicago here in the middle. Kevin Naglich, who's just organized a new Indivisible Chicago chapter on the Northwest Side. We'll talk more about that. And Reid McCollum, the Program Outreach Director for Progressive Turnout Project. Reid is the lead organizer of the May 18th Hands Across Chicagoland event. We're going to hear more about that. Is it one of the QR codes? Okay, and there's a sheet on your chair that tells you more about that. All right, that's enough. I will sit down now and turn things over to Marge to get things started. Thank you so much for coming. What a great group.
All right, Reid, I think I'm going to start with you. One of the other things that you did early on was organize the Successful Postcards to Swing States project. How many of you have sent postcards to swing states through this program, or others, but most of them are through this program? Little known fact, this started in Reid's garage. So if you think you can't organize something big out of your own home in your own circle, we're going to disprove that in just a minute. We met, Reid, when you were organizing the Coalition for a Better Sixth, the 6th district, congressional district in the western suburbs. At the time, Republican Peter Roskam was the undisputed leader of that district. He was untouchable, unbeatable, and no one even tried most of the time, if I remember correctly, to run against him. And Reid thought, we better talk to voters. We didn't have a primary, we didn't have any candidates, but it was time to talk to voters about how bad Roskam was, so that when candidates came along, people would know why they want to replace him. That's a wild idea, makes sense, the kind of thing we all talk about over a beer, but you actually did it, and pretty successfully, as you know, because we elected Sean Casten to replace Peter Roskam. So it starts with a little idea. What made you get started in organizing, pick any of these projects or all of them the way you want to explain it?
Well, I feel like I've come full circle because Trump was just elected president, and a lot of people here probably just got involved for the first time as a result of that insanity. I was part of the new wave of volunteers and organizers after Trump was elected the first time. So I'm about 8.5 years into my journey. People have been fighting for our democratic values that we believe in for decades, but that's really what motivated and activated me. And at that point, I looked at who's my congressman, who's Republican Peter Roskam, and was one of, I think, 1 million people in the area that was just like, we can take this guy out, and that started the journey for me.
Well, you said before we started that you were kind of warned off, like we're not even going to bother trying to beat Roskam. right?
Yeah, Peter Roskam had won his re-election in 2016 by about 19 points, and so the Democratic Party of DuPage County, of which I am now also chair, said that we're not going to focus on that, and they had hundreds of people show up to a meeting in January of 2017 and said, we're going to just try to chip away at the huge Republican majority on the county board, and about 500 people left angry, and that led to us forming a grassroots coalition that worked with groups all across Chicagoland to help, make sure voters knew who their congressman was.
Reid, what were you doing 8.5 years ago before you became an organizer?
To the extent that I can even remember, I was selling widgets for a large industrial supply distributor, which I continued to do.
You're the widget guy.
Yeah, I didn't.
I recognize you.
I didn't end up. You can be a volunteer. I mean, you can fill any amount of your time with hours of making a difference, and it was about the insurrection on the Capitol when I decided I was done selling widgets, and then moved to trying to working full time in politics in addition to volunteering as well for me.
Now, Anu, Swing Left focuses on specific races in swing districts, if I'm understanding right. You can put a little nuance on that if you want. Tell us your story. How did you get involved with Swing Left?
So just like we read, in 2016 when Trump was voted, I was kind of embarrassed that I didn't really do anything. I was just complaining and whining, but when he won, I was devastated. And so I wanted to do something. However, I live in a very blue district, so what really can I do? And so what Swing Left does is that what they recognized when they first started, also in 2017, was they also lived in San Francisco, which is obviously also very blue. But what they recognized was that everybody in a blue district lives about 45 minutes to an hour away from a purple district. And so their whole goal was to identify those districts that were in the purple district. So at that point, it was either Trump winning, Hillary losing, or vice versa, and then also within a 10-point margin. So those were all your purple districts, and Illinois 6 was actually one of them. And so that's about 45 minutes away from all of us, and that's how we started with that. And that was my thing, just showing up to a house party and seeing what we can do.
And Kevin, you, like Anu at one time, have been involved in the Indivisible Chicago citywide. You found something else that related to what you really wanted to do, which is important to understand, and that's one of the big takeaways of today, I think. But so I know that you do a lot of things with the citywide organization, but felt the need for something more local. Talk about what that was like and what made you put all the time and effort into starting the Northwest Side chapter.
Well, I'm actually even newer than that because I'm a very first-time organizer, just within the past 3 months, to be honest. And after the election, like many of you, I'm sure, was in a very sad, dark place and just kind of feeling very hopeless about everything. And but then, kind of like you were saying, just the guilt of hey, if I'm going to complain about all this stuff, I should really try to do something too. And that's when I started Googling and looking for different organizations, and really liked what Indivisible was kind of about in terms of just having a very actionable plan and how can we approach our Congress people and get them to fight for us. And then eventually I was connected with Bill in the back there, and he convinced me that maybe a good Northwest Side chapter would be a thing to do, and got going on that. And I'm happy to say that in the past 3 months we're already at 1,500 members in a brand new chapter.
Wow, that is impressive. Did not know. Is there any one thing you can point to, or how do you think it grew so fast?
It's because people like my beard.
Reid.
That is the...
See, that's a secret. We know. It's a thing.
Might be. Might be. We don't know.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing is there's just a really big appetite for something hyper-local. People do want to be involved, and it's just a lot more enticing and more fun to do it when you're with people that you live around and that maybe or want to get to know and can be with outside of just working on a political campaign type of thing. So as we've gotten started, we've done a lot of very just social community building events. We've done game nights, happy hours, and just really getting people to come together as a community, because I think that's also a thing that's kind of missing. There's that third space idea that just isn't around anymore. It's we just have work and home and that's it. So getting people out, getting them to know each other, and then coming together to unite against, what's going on in the world and becoming allies for one another, I think is just very appealing to people.
that idea of social events. We'll talk a little more about organizing versus just kind of complaining. But you're doing more. You're combining the organizing with the ability to connect with people.
Yeah, exactly. Because I mean, the way that I look at it is, it's like it's very easy for you to unsubscribe from an email list, but it's really hard for you to unsubscribe from your friends. So if we make friends and we come together as a community and we like each other, it's like, what are you more likely to do? Go to a protest by yourself, or go with 20 of your neighbors that you know and like? And so that's kind of the idea behind it, is like, let's get ourselves talking, let's get to know one another, let's brainstorm ideas on how we can fight back in this day and age, and then actually come together for those actions.
That's what's been so nice about this group. I mean, especially, we're all Zoom fatigued. God knows, I only had 2 or 3 meetings today. But if you haven't already, and Maureen invited you, make sure you've introduced yourselves to the people around you, because that's what we're here for. We call it a community gathering first and a political panel second, but here's the political panel. So, Kevin, like, what are a couple of highlights about getting started? What was some of the not easy parts, but more rewarding parts, and what maybe were some of the challenges?
Yeah, I mean, the rewarding part is easily just like the amount of passion and people that have come out, again, in just a really short time. And I always joke, like, putting this together has honestly been like the best therapy for me in a way, because it's like, again, I was feeling very down and very hopeless, but seeing there's like hundreds and hundreds and now thousands of people just in our local neighborhood that want to help and that are helping out. And even just on like our leadership team, we're over like 50 volunteers that are helping us from everything from marketing to creative design to finance to everything. So it's like, that has definitely been the most exciting, positive aspect of it. And then I think you asked about like challenges too, or?
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, the challenges are just, I think what you would expect with any new organization and getting organized, and the growing pains aspect of it, making sure that everyone's talking and on the same page and trying to connect some of those dots. And volunteer burnout is also very real, and it is a lot of work putting together something like this. And so just trying to build enough layers of redundancy there so that not any one person is trying to take on everything, and especially knowing that that people have lives, kids, jobs, whatever. Has been a challenge, but it's one we're working through, and trying to build as efficient of an organization as we can.
In Anu, talk about burnout. You seem to have as much energy as you did in Trump 1.0. Now that it's 2.0, but you must face some of those same challenges with the people you're trying to organize. Do you find you have to build anew now? Anew. I didn't mean it.
Is that the first time you've heard that?
Absolutely. It's the first time in my entire life I've heard that. For us, we are getting a lot of volunteers. I do have a day job, but I am struggling in trying to build that community, build the outreach, do the game nights, pull all that stuff together. It's just, I had 2 other co-leads, and then, they got busy with their, life and kids, and so they dropped out, so now it's just me. So I'm trying to pull in more people to help out if they want to be part of leadership, if they just want to take on an arm of something. I too would like to build community. I think right now we're in a space that we can build community and just build connections across just anyone who is interested that wants to do just any one small action, versus if you want to get really involved, there's all the things that you can do. But right now, my challenge right now is getting more people and just finding time to have more activities, have more connections, have more community for at least like for Swing Left Chicago.
And Reid, same question to you. So you've got the Coalition for a Better Sixth and the Postcards Project, which the exact name I can't remember at the moment.
Postcards to Swing States.
Postcards to Swing States. Should be able to remember that. And most recently and upcoming is the Hands Across Chicagoland. So, affordances and obstacles to any of those projects you want to highlight?
I'll say that I was sort of thinking about it. I've never been directly involved in leading a neighborhood-based group, but what I've really focused on is sort of making sure that groups that are gelling have useful content and things to do. And that's what I found with postcards. It's a great gateway to activism. Anybody's been to a postcard party knows it's the easiest thing to invite somebody new to, like the worst thing.
Postcarders out here?
Any postcarders? So,
Yeah.
The worst thing for me is, I love door-to-door canvassing more than anything, and I have this like idea in my mind that most people would rather have dental procedures than go knocking doors, talking to strangers about politics. So I just envision this happening all the time, which is, like, I can't believe, is like Trump really gonna, win, or is he really our president? And it's like, yeah, you should get involved. And they're like, what can I do? And it's like, come with me to Michigan and knock doors for 3 hours on Sunday. And they're just like, this look of horror comes over their face. And it's like, getting people to the point where they might ever be willing to do that sometimes takes a little bit of an on-ramp. And, community organizations, it's sort of an unnatural act to build any time into your schedule to deal something to like actually process and be in space, like to do something against what's happening in our country. That's courageous. That's already kind of a break glass moment, just to show up and be involved and not try to bury it and ignore it. And, so everything that I do is like, there's groups all over the country that write postcards when we're doing webinars about ways that, people can get involved, opportunities to knock doors, like ways to make that less scary, to really make it accessible. One of my favorite things that I was involved in last year was a canvassing recruitment video that we filmed in Chicago, all about, anybody can do this. It's like really easy. Like, this is why it's effective. And these are the types of conversations that you'll have, so people can actually see themselves out there in that environment and be a little less intimidated by it in some cases. And it's never going to be for everybody, and postcards can be for almost anybody.
And I will say, if any of you have ever taken any of our Canvas training classes on Zoom or in person, you saw that video. We love it. It tells a story. I'm with you. That's my favorite thing to do in politics, but not everybody feels that way. But once you do it, you'll see. You'll see. We'll get to that a little bit later, probably. But what are your priorities now? Kevin, maybe you want to start. So you've had phenomenal success growing in a short amount of time. Yeah. But what are you focused on now to keep your group alive and lively and engaged and growing?
Yeah, so I view the mission of my chapter as doing two things. One is recruiting as many people as possible, and then getting them to take as much action as possible. And we've kind of organized our team according to those lines. And so, I think we were kind of talking before, it's like, it's very easy to fall into this, what I think is a very typically American trap of like, what can I as an individual do? And everything's like me and my bootstraps and, but really we need to think about this as a collective issue, and what can we do collectively to take action? Because one person by themselves, minus the $400 billion you were talking about, can't do a whole lot. But when we do come together as a community to fight back and to take a stand, that's where we can make a difference. So my biggest priority right now is, I think the 1,500 in 3 months is a great start, but there's tens of thousands of people on the Northwest side who definitely are, not Trump fans. And so let's get out to them, let's reach them, let's encourage them. And so, we're doing that in a few different ways. We're building an independent media organization that'll go out into the neighborhoods and be our storytelling team to get info on both people that are helping, the helpers in the crowd, as well as people that are being impacted by this administration. And the point of that is to really, again, drive more awareness, put a human face on what's going on, and encourage more people to take that first step from 0 to 1 of, like I used to be 3 months ago, just sitting on the couch and feeling sad, to, okay, let's actually do something about it. And then the action piece of it too is then, like, for example, partnering with great organizations and giving them, all these new people that can help out with a swing left or with a postcards to swing states, and potentially even organizing our own local things in the community, like visiting our alder people or U.S. Congress members as well. So biggest priorities, again, those two things. How can we get as many people in, and then giving them a sort of nice, easy, safe way to get into activism, because I think that is a big fear of people, is like, what is this activist stuff? And, are you guys all radicals? It's like, no, we're just neighbors that
just some
care.
of us.
Yeah. Some of us. Yeah.
Maybe. Well, so Anu, you have some advantages now, I think, in that this whole idea of swing states and swing districts is now a more common vernacular, at least under, for people who pay attention to politics. So I feel like at the beginning, Trump 1.0, it was a little bit of an explanation. Here's why we're focusing on these districts. Here's what we can do there. Reid's story about ignoring the 19-point districts, there was an uphill. So if I'm right that is a little easier, what is it that you focused on now? What are the most important things you need to get done?
So that is what Swing Left actually focuses on. It focuses on pretty much flipping the House races that are the swing districts. So right now we're in the what we'll say is the organizing phase. So just like what you're doing is getting people aware, getting people acclimated to what's happening, getting people just out of their fear mode of like, what can I do, what to do, and just making them more comfortable in the activism process. So because there's really no House races to flip right now, a lot of it's just, again, building community, getting those connections, getting people comfortable so that when we can mobilize, so there's, the governor races that are coming in November, we are ready to go. So for us, we're more focused on the House, which is what's different than Indivisible. And then in the meantime, while we're doing that, because I do, reach out to you guys, anyone that we're connected with will tell them, this is what's going on with postcarding, this is what Indivisible is doing. Anything that you want to connect will help you connect in any way possible. If it's letter writing, if it's canvassing, there's no sense in duplicating work. So we send anyone who wants to canvass, we've started sending them over to Indivisible. There's no sense in us training and you training. So you got it covered, you're the experts at it, so we'll send you over there. We do a lot of letter writing because it's a little bit easier for us, but most of our focus is on flipping the House. So we're right now in that organizing phase of trying to build a community, trying to get people out there, trying to get them comfortable with these are the things that you can do. It's not that scary. And we'll help you along the way. So that way, when November comes, we can snap and be ready to go.
Yeah.
Reid, we were talking about or had mentioned the Hands Across Chicago. Now, I'm old enough that I can remember Hands Across America. So I assume that's where the idea came from. But can you talk a little bit about the process of coming up with the idea and how you've managed to pull it off?
Yeah, so out in DuPage County, we've had people protesting at Tesla dealerships every Saturday. That's been going on across the country. And as we've now experienced people getting disappeared to torture dungeons in El Salvador without due process, it felt like we needed additionally protests that weren't just about Elon Musk and the horror that's happening there, but about sort of just complete violations to the Constitution, making a mockery of due process, habeas corpus, threatening to take U.S. citizens and put them in other countries. And so that was the genesis, and then it's sort of an escalation from hands off. And so the Hands Across Chicagoland was sort of just the idea to connect the entire region and not be silent collectively together. So it's a 30-mile protest in solidarity, lining the sidewalks from Aurora, Illinois to Little Village. And we're expecting about 15,000 people. It's next Sunday, May 18th. There are right now 34 organizations that are partners in that. A lot of them are Indivisible chapters. The Democratic Party of DuPage County, a lot of township organizations, Personal PAC, Illinois Federation of Teachers, Illinois Muslim Action Network, a broad coalition of organizations. And everybody's going to wear black. There's going to be homemade signs, and they're going to line the 30 miles of sidewalk from Aurora to Little Village. So that's sort of the idea of it. And it's really just, I think, for me, the number one thing that people can do is be part of all of the mass mobilizations that are happening. Obviously, the No Kings on June 14th is going to be an important one, but getting closer and closer to 3.5% of the population saying this isn't normal. We can't just stand by and let this happen, and bringing more of our normal friends into the mobilization that we need.
Can you talk about the 3.5%? Where that number comes from?
Yeah, I will not remember the name of the social scientist, but it's a TED Talk, and it's a study that almost any social movement that's been peaceful, that has gotten 3.5% of the population out into the streets on a sustained basis, has been successful. So you think about sort of countries in Eastern Europe and Serbia and overthrowing Milosevic, just time and time again, if you can get that many people, and the insight is that it might seem like you need a much, much larger percentage of the population, but it's a lot of people. It's over 10 million people, and to do that on a sustained basis, it's hard to stop. So you think about it as the opposite of like Tim Schneider's don't submit in advance to tyranny. Like they will push until we push back, and it's nonviolent, peaceful protest that is ultimately the most effective way to push back. That really anybody can do is to be part of that out in the streets.
And if I could add really quick, so on that point, I think when the estimates came in for the hands-off rallies back on April 5th, that was about 1% of the population. So if you think about it, we just need to each bring 2 more friends to the next one, and there you go.
And and that's not a failure. I mean, these are rehearsals for
exactly.
what may be coming, and getting us in the practice of turning up to the streets is no small thing.
And one thing I like about the Hands Across Chicagoland is that it's a statement and a message, but it is also community building, right? Because you're going to be holding hands with people who you don't know. You sign up. It's easy. When you sign up, it'll give you a location of where you're going to go and where your place in line is. When you get there, there'll be other people there. It'll be a chance, just like this is tonight, to meet some people you didn't know who are like-minded and who want to organize. So you've got this dual purpose, right?
Yeah, and I think, now that I'm 10 years into this, like, we forget the basic logistics of, like, you bring new people in, they sign up for something, we have their information, we can invite them to the next thing, they meet 3 people. And so it is actions that cause us to keep, nobody likes email. But the only way that you know that something happened is that somebody told you, you get on a list, you hear about it, you tell other people. And so all of the activity that's happening in the protests expand, and that's not even counting the people that just drive by the street over 30 miles and see it. It's like, I want to be part of that. How do I find out? There's people that are not pretending that everything's normal. Maybe I should be one of them.
Can we just get some specifics about how people can get involved? I know there's flyers floating around, but where do I show up if I want to be involved in Hands Across Chicagoland?
So just go to handsacrossschi.com, and that's the only place you need to go, handsacrossschi.com. You find your spot by entering your zip code, and it'll tell you exactly where you can be. It'll be relatively close to where you live. The closest point to where you live along that 30-mile route. So it's mostly Ogden from Aurora to Cicero, and then 26th Street through Little Village. So if you live up in Evanston, you're going to be driving south a little bit of a ways. But we have people coming in from western Kane County, which, as far as I know, is close to Iowa. I'm not exactly sure.
Might be.
I think it goes Ashland, Damon,
Iowa. Yeah.
Something like that. You're all making it clear that there's really a difference between taking action and talking, wringing your hands where you said you were, Kevin, just a couple months ago. Many of us, doesn't mean there's no hand wringing in any of our living rooms anymore, but we understand the value of acting as well. And you're all here because you want to do something. You're all doing things, we know, but you want to do more. Am I right about that? You're still looking for things to do. Okay, great. Then we have the right people up here to tell you what the kinds of things are that they can do. So, Kevin, what is it that you need people to do with your group?
Yeah, so we have a number of ways you can get involved in that, in terms of the different skill sets too. One of the things that I really believe in is just whatever unique skill you have, there is a way for you to use that skill and make a difference. So, yeah, a great example is we're doing our town hall tomorrow night at the Irish American Heritage Center. And this time we are actually providing free on-site childcare thanks to volunteers that are going to watch other people's kids so that parents can attend. So yes, even babysitting is an act of resistance, right? So that's kind of the idea. So whatever unique skill you have, we will find a way to put it to use. And so specific openings and that we can use a hand with on our chapter is a bunch of social media and marketing stuff. We have openings for creative people, graphic design. We want to get our government relations organization up so we can start building kind of deeper relationships with all of our electeds from the city, state, federal, county level, because we want to start having those relationships to have a seat at the table, as well as to also start doing some joint events. So if that's your jam and you like building relationships, we could use help on that front too. But again, whatever skill you have, if it's juggling, I'll find a way to help you juggle for democracy.
Accounting, graphic design?
Yeah, graphic design, fundraising, government relations stuff I mentioned.
Check writing?
Check writing is always a good thing. We have a big mutual aid organization that we're putting together too, that we can partner with a number of like local charities and things like that. So that's another relationship building opportunity, and we're actually doing another drive at our town hall tomorrow night. The first one we did in Logan Square, we benefited Logan Square Mutual Aid, and then this time we're going to do something for Refugee Services Chicago.
And Anu, you said you were a solo act at the moment. What do you need?
If you'd like to help out and help me not be a solo act, that would be great. But at the very, anything that you want to do. So if you want to hold a house party that's, open to the public, or if you just want to do that with your friends. Right now we're just looking to get more people involved and organized. And so that way we can start figuring out what we want to do for November. So if you know a good place to, have a beer with a bunch of folks, and you think that you can invite 10 to 15 more people, that would be great. So we can just build community throughout the city, and that way people have places to go that's not just like close to me where I live, which is like in the Bucktown Wicker Park area. So I'd love to get more people involved in other parts of the city, so that way we can get connected to other organizations as well, and be more aware and get people connected to whatever they want when they want. A lot of it's also I can't do it on this day, but I can do something on that day. It's perfectly fine. We can accommodate that. And so we're just looking for more people that just want to volunteer and, maybe want to build, bring some folks in that they know. Because, you're the one that is the one that's actively going out on a Monday night, to a political event. So you're probably going to be the connection for your friends or family. So how do you bring them in? You're the one that's going to, be the person that they'll look to for things. So like it'd be great to just start connecting, like you said, Reid. Like one person can bring in 2 to 3 people, and you just start connecting, and you just build that out. And so I think we were talking about this before. Like we're fighting against apathy, and so if we can get more people to feel like you may feel like you're just one small person, but all of us together can really make a difference. And so this is a stat of the night that I would love to say is we won the House, or we lost the House, I should say, by 7,309 votes. And so this is not a huge mandate that he had. And so, the more people we get involved, the more people we get off the couch, we just need 3. We just need 3 to win. That's all.
Thinking about house parties, Anu, do you ever have a situation where somebody wants to throw a house party, doesn't want to do it alone, and somebody else, you can connect people to like do joint house parties? Well,
you can do joint we will help out. So we do have a Swing Left national person that works in the Midwest. Like they will contact you and they'll give you. That's one thing I like about Swing Left, at least for someone like I have a full-time job, and so they'll just give me all the materials that I need, the talking points, the decks, the handouts, anything that you need. You can email her and she'll get you on the call. And if you need help from me, I can also help out. So like you'll at least have 2 to 3 people helping you out every step of the way. And like if you want me to come to the party, I can. If like you're feeling a little like scared to do it alone, so I've done that as well. So anything that you need to feel comfortable will help you.
And what do you do at a house party? What's the project? So
the project at that point is telling about Swing Left strategy, what we are, why we started, what we do, the focus that we have. So like we do have, as of right now, Swing Left has identified 25 House representatives, 10 on defense, 15 on offense. So 10 means that like we'd like to, 10 of them only lost by or won by like less than 3%, and 15 that we only lost by, I think, like less than 4%. And there's Iowa 1, whoever that Iowa 1 person is, I forget what it is, but she only won by 700 votes. So another person that we can go after who's on our list. So it's all very doable if you can get more people involved. And so that's what the strategy is.
And we get all these texts from these high profile areas. Well, I'm going to take on Marjorie Taylor Greene, and maybe that's going to happen, but the smarter money is on these races that are closer.
Yeah, right? Especially when you have someone that is the first time. So like, for example, Sean Casten, he doesn't probably have a lot of money to come in, and Swing Left does a lot of fundraising. So we fundraised, not just us, but like the entire Swing Left National fundraised like $8 million for him. So when he walks in the door after the primary, he has $8 million versus like Peter Roskin has a lot of Republican money. He's done this before, and that's the hardest way for someone to win. So, to get an incumbent to lose is very difficult. So that's something else that we do. So that's part of the house party, is getting you aware of here are all the things that you personally can do, and here is where your money, like the most impact that you will have on these House races. If you want to go after, Marjorie Taylor Greene, that's absolutely fine, but your $5 will go much more to beating this person in Iowa. That's a very winnable district.
And I put out another advantage to swing left, well, to really what you're all doing, because so many times we feel like everything is falling apart. There's this, there's that. It's really hard to focus. Oh no, I gotta stop this golden palace of a jet thing. Oh no, I gotta, figure out why it is habeas corpus is in trouble, and is it really, and what was that lawsuit, and how many agencies is it gonna, it's overwhelming, right? But here are folks who are telling you places you can focus. You want to win House races, Swing Left knows how to do it. I'm clearing out all those texts from all those people that you just mentioned, Tom, and I want to focus on the things that you're doing. You want to do something starting local, this is how. You want to get involved in some different kinds of grassroots work, whether it's canvassing or meeting more people out on the street on the way to Aurora or postcards. These are very specific things that are thought out and good places to focus, effective places to focus. And Reid, we haven't talked a lot about Voter Turnout Project, but you do some work there too, that's your day job.
Yeah, so Progressive Turnout Project as an organization is the largest direct voter contact organization in the country. A lot of that is door-to-door canvassing, and it's actually compensating people to do door-to-door canvassing in rural and exurban areas in swing states. But we also have field organizers working on hundreds of competitive state ledge and federal races in competitive districts as well. We do a lot of mail, so it is the largest grassroots-funded effort to get Democrats elected that doesn't just put money on TV. It's tens of millions of dollars of doing direct voter contact. We have, talking about different things you can do is we're doing postcards right now for Virginia for their statewide and governor's election, also New Jersey. And then a lot of people don't know yet, you'll hear more about it in the fall, that Pennsylvania has 3 Supreme Court retentions, which is just like in Wisconsin. They're all 3 Democrats. Their party won't be listed on the ballot in the fall when they're up for retention. And if we don't win all 3, then the Supreme Court in Pennsylvania will be tied for probably 2 years until their spring of 2027 election. So we're writing postcards to folks in Pennsylvania to make sure they know that they should vote yes to retain these 3 Democratic justices on their state Supreme Court. So order some postcards, just Google postcards to swing states, invite some of your friends, drink some wine, and write postcards and talk about how much you hate Donald Trump. And what you'll discover is that when you take action, turning that anger into action feels good. You will feel better about everything that you're doing. You will be having an impact. But carving out time in your life and building community and actually taking action helps you deal with what we're all kind of working to fight against.
And I want to make a plug for just showing up, because if you have skills, things you can do, and you're not sure how it fits in, you find out when you show up. I'll give an example. In my spare time, I organize the South Loop community, onecommunitysl.com, if any of you live around there and want to get involved. And we organize these aldermanic forums. We are gerrymandered into 4 wards. We have 4 alders, so you want something done, depends on what corner of the street you're standing on, which alderman you have to call. So we get them together for meetings. And in our last meeting, I asked for them to give us more information about what they're doing. And Alderman Pat Dowell, who is head of the Finance Committee, has quite a staff, said she didn't have enough staff for that, and she thought, I should do that because I have so much staff. And I said, well, I would do it, but I don't have staff. We're a small group. We're building. Unless somebody wants to volunteer to do a newsletter, I'm not doing it. 3 hands shot up. These are people who could do it. I had 1 writer, 1 graphics person, and 1 kind of tech person who's going to help with the database. So I'm going to have a newsletter because those people came and showed up. So whatever your skills are, you're thinking you don't have the right skills. You don't know until you make that connection and show up. So these are some of the specific focuses that could connect for you. And when you come to one of these meetings or contact these folks or get involved or hold hands out on 26th Street, you're going to find out how your particular skills are just the thing that is going to make the project work. So I throw that in as something to think. And more than anything, I think we all need more organizing. These are ways you can get involved. All these things are organizing. Maybe you want to start a new organization yourself. Now you know an expert in that area. But we also need more organizers in these groups. And I think one of the biggest hurdles, and we all must have felt this way, or else just me, but probably not, is like, I don't know if I'm an organizer. Can I do that? How you were sitting on your couch wringing your hands, what made you think you could organize?
I mean, in my case, it was just like, I had been a manager and a director at a software company prior to all this, and I just figured, well, if I could manage a team of IT nerds, I can probably organize a community. Like, it seems similar. But yeah, it was just, I don't know, like I like talking to people, and I had some loose experience doing that before, and I just figured, like, again, if not me, then who? So I might as well give it a try.
So if somebody sitting here, or maybe somebody listening on the podcast or on the radio, find themselves in an indivisible desert out in Chicago, what are the first steps that one would take to organizing them? You guys can also chime in.
Yeah, I mean, what worked well for me is the first thing I did is I went to Indivisible Chicago Alliance, kind of like our parent organization across the city, and had some talks with them and just figured out what the lay of land was. And yeah, was there a gap on the northwest side? Spoiler, there was. And, it just seemed like a perfect fit because I live in Old Irving and right in the middle of that area. So yeah, I would start there. Just go to Indivisible Chicago. Is it ICA.com, Bill? What is your address?
IndivisiBleChicago.com.
That's it. Ta-da!
That's it. And Anu, you did start working with Indivisible, and we did a lot of projects together with you. A little sad that you found another way to get organized, but also really happy because Swing Left is really important.
But we miss you.
What we do.
They're not bitter at all.
What made you think, all right, I'm just going to start taking a leadership role in Swing Left?
I don't remember. Well, it's been a while. Honestly, it was just showing up at somebody's house party, and one thing I like about Swing Left is like all the stuff is just outlined for you, and if you can follow directions, you could pretty much host. Becoming a leader was a little bit more. That just kind of happened over time. It was. All right, so I went to this house party. I'm engaged, met this person. She's not a serial killer. And
always a plus.
Always a plus, right, when you're going to some stranger's house.
How do you know they're not serial killers?
So far.
That is a leap of faith that you have to take. And so it was just over time. It's like, all right, I'll help volunteer for this. I'll help volunteer for that. And, okay, we'll just start something together, and we'll pull these things together. And all of a sudden you realize, like, oh, God, you're the leader. And it's helpful to have other people there as well. So, like, you don't really feel like a leader because they have 2 or 3 people that end up being your friends that help you out. They're pulling these things together, and you're just kind of organizing together. And so, like, with Indivisible, it was like, I'll just show up to one of your meetings, and if you need something, I'm good at, I think, like, so my thing was, like, I don't feel like I have a skill. Like, I work at a software company. What do I do? I'm just like, I feel like I'm good at being just literally organized. So it's like I do a lot of spreadsheets. I remember doing a lot of spreadsheets for you guys and that kind of stuff.
Yes,
and so
I thought if you didn't know what your skill was, I was going to tell you.
So like that's the thing that I could do. Like I'm more of a back end person. I feel like I'm not going to be. I do Canvas, but I don't like it. But I will pull together that spreadsheet for you. Figure out who needs to go in what car. I'm better at that. So it's just like what small thing can I do? And then it's just one more thing that I can do, and all of a sudden you realize, like, oh God, I'm the leader, and I'm sitting on this pedal, and people are asking me to come to places, and but you get the support, you have friends, you work with people over time, and like you've done this before, so it's not that it becomes less and less scary over time is what I realized.
Yeah, and Reid, I want to take you back to the beginning of the postcard project when you contacted us at Indivisible and said, I think we could get these postcards. I got an empty garage, or you moved your car out of the garage to make room for them. I don't know what you did about that, but I know you needed a fiscal agent. Indivisible helped you, and we applied for funding. And so, like, you really had an idea about postcards, and it's hard for us to put our minds back there because everybody's been to postcard parties. It's so much a part now of what's going on, although I did hear today that the price of a postcard is going up to 62 cents a postcard stamp. So apparently the administration knows that this is successful. And they don't
What
want
is it
us
now?
to sell.
What is it now?
It's like 39.
It's 56 now,
Oh, it's
but it was
56.
35 when we
when
started.
we
So
I guess it's the curse of the forever stamp, right? I
think
don't
they're-
even know what they cost anymore.
Yeah, I know, but if you better stock up. Are you stocking up on forever postcard stamps right
you
now?
have no idea how many dollars worth of postcard stamps I'm ordering before that July 13th vote.
Is that a way people can get involved with helping you buy postcard stamps?
No, they just write postcards.
All right.
got
Buy
the
your
stamps
stamps
covered.
before July 13th is my protest.
That's right.
Okay.
But so back then, what did you think was on the horizon? I don't mean to say it as arrogantly as it sounded when I asked Kevin. I didn't mean it then either. But like, what made you think you could pull that off?
I mean, it kind of just happens. So just so people know, we've had volunteers write 86 million postcards now, and like hundreds of thousands of volunteers. So it was not any kind of goal to start something in my garage that would turn into that. We had done postcards through the Coalition for a Better Illinois 6th. Had some folks that knew what they were doing devise the messages. We did actually a randomized controlled trial to measure how effective they were in the primary in Illinois 6 in 2018. And what I learned then was that by just shipping people or delivering them, driving around Chicagoland, dropping off free postcards, is that just because the postcards were free, people were willing to take hundreds of them and bring friends. It just really was clear that postcards were a viral activity that was the easiest, most successful thing that folks could do. And then before I knew it, it was like an e-commerce platform of shipping tens of thousands of packages. I mean, in 2020, we had volunteers write 21 million postcards. We sent out about 65,000 packages during the pandemic from an office the size of this room. And if you're on the radio, it's a small room. But we just try to keep up.
We're making this all sound like, wow, I just had this idea and it snowballed and it took off, which sometimes it does. But there's also those times when you call a meeting and you got an empty room, I remember going to an Indivisible downtown chapter. As I said, that's really my geographic chapter of Indivisible, and now people are coming out and they're filling the room. But somebody said at the beginning of one of those meetings, first I want to thank the 8 people who came during the Biden years, so we could still have a group now. So like, it's an up and down, and it's not always instant success. I just think I'd like to hear quickly in the time we have left, each of you say what gets you through those slumps, because we've talked about the humps and the victories, but those moments when something didn't turn out the way you thought it would, how do you get past that?
Well, I mean, I'm so new to this. We haven't had a whole lot of slumps yet because there is a lot of passion and people are getting involved, and that's great. But, in the few little minor bumps along the road, I think the best thing is just having like other strong partners on like your leadership team, whatever that looks like, whether that's just one other person or 8 other people. Because trying to do everything by yourself, no matter how good at spreadsheets that we are, like you need someone else to bounce ideas off of and take some of that load with you. And if you are looking to start up your own chapter, that would be one of the first things I would do, is try to find like that core group of leaders with you to help you through any of that stuff, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Anu, you have a trick?
So I will say, like, when we did the postcards when I was volunteering with Indivisible, I remember like grabbing the postcards. I forgot from whom. I think it was Jason, and I would drag it to Gideon Wells, and like sometimes 5 people would show up, sometimes 4 people would show up, and it's just a matter of just doing, because every once in a while you get a big one, and that was when it didn't feel, at least for me, since I was so new to everything, to organizing, that it didn't feel like anything was happening. When like each Tuesday I'm there and it's like, okay, 4 people showed up, 5 people showed up, I'm like, I guess it's better than nothing. I really had to have a friend be like, 1 is better than 0, and so that's really all you need. And so I tended to get really down about it a lot, because I just wanted everybody to be energized and let's do this and let's flip this, and it just really took a long time to be like, not everybody is like me in that way. So it's just you have to kind of like go to your friends, and someone's going to have the positive attitude, just like reach into them while they have the positive attitude, and like I'll also have the positive attitude. And so over time, so we'll start in like February when we're starting with the Wisconsin primaries, and like it's in the middle of winter, like maybe 4 or 5 people will show up, and like you're dragging these letters and all this stuff over there. So it's like, but it's still better than nothing. Like 4 people showed up in the middle of winter to write letters, and they just want to do something, and you're the person that allows them to do the something. And so that's the piece that makes me feel good. It's like, all right, I helped one person at least do something that was better than nothing, so hopefully they also feel good. And also, if there's not a lot of people, then I will chit chat with more folks, because I'm just better with like a smaller group of people than large. So it's like, all right, I got a chance to chit chat with folks and go home for the evening and like feel like I did something.
And Reid, isn't the consistency part of it? The people who didn't come Tuesday don't know that only 4 people came. They think you're doing this over and over. You are doing it over and over again, and when they finally come, more people will be there. Is that sort of sticking with it? How important is that?
I was actually thinking about if I plan a protest along 30 miles and nobody shows up, I'm probably going to have to leave the state. But
where Iowa is.
Yeah, I mean, you have to be fearless. But I mean, I was thinking about sort of for me, like the failure never felt like people not showing up. It's really about the outcome. Some of us are just wired that way. And I was sort of thinking about that, like why when Harris lost elephant in the room like several months ago, it didn't hit me as hard as it did when Trump defeated Hillary in 2016. And for me, very personally, because I, 3 days on the floor listening to Hallelujah over and over, like in 2016, like we were all in that space. To me, it wasn't because it happened again. It was because in 2016, I knew nothing of what I could do. I had no clue what I could be part of. Last fall in November, I was like launching buses from New York at a staging location for the Harris campaign in Northeast Philly. And like we were knocking on hundreds of doors, received 6,000 volunteers, went upstairs to the hotel and watched the results. And it was like, it was pretty rough, but I knew exactly what the work was that we needed to do starting tomorrow.
I'll say, I mean, the one thing that we have going for us is the great work that all of you are doing, and the great work that all of you are doing. I think we have a community in a way that the MAGA people cannot possibly have a community. So thank you for that work. Thank you for your work. And just real quick before we conclude, want to make sure we have the QR codes on flyers around the room. So take a picture of those before you leave. I believe your info is on these as well, but just in case, real quick, if people want to get involved on the Northwest side, Kevin?
Yeah, I know this website. It's Indivisible Chicago, NW for Northwest.org.
And Swing Left?
Swing Left Chicago.
Microphone?
SwingLeftChicago.org.
And Reid?
My cell phone, no. Just Google postcards to swing states or handsacrossshy.com.
I want to do one more thing. If you wouldn't mind handing your microphone and put TJ on the spot. TJ? This is TJ Shanoff.
Hi, everybody. Hey, great. How about our panel, everybody? That was awesome. I'm inspired.
TJ,
Yes.
you've got a musical up and running. Is that correct?
An improvised musical, yeah, at the Revival Theater in the Chicago's wonderful South Loop. It is an improvised musical created in Chicago, ran off Broadway in 2015. We're back in Chicago, where it all started. All Second City alum, Revival Theater every Saturday in June, matinees and nighttime shows. I didn't think I'd get a plug, or I would have brought a QR code. Thank you, everybody. I care less about my show and more about winning elections for the left. Thank you so much for being here, y'all, and thank you.
With that, we're going to wrap up our broadcast portion of the show. Show Up Chicago is hosted by Blue Beginning chapter of Indivisible Chicago, as well as our friends here at the Hideout, and they surely are friends. If you or your friends aren't here tonight, want to watch this show, you'll find it at youtube.com/Blue Beginning. Special thanks to Katie and Tim Tutton, Jody Boltman, Avery Reel, and the terrific staff at The Hideout. Our sound engineer has been Kenny. Kenny, thank you so much. John Freeberg manages the broadcasting in. Thanks also to Lewis University for providing additional tech support. TJ Shanoff has been thanked and plugged. Thanks to WCPT's Matt Cummings, Tim Hogan, and Mark Pinsky for broadcasting Show Up Chicago every Sunday night at 7. Your Blue Beginning team, including Marge and myself, is Chloe Madvig, Maureen Kuhl, who you saw earlier tonight, Nick Rapkin, and Mike Linehan. And so ends our broadcast. Thank you so much for joining us. The great Maureen Kuhl.
Woohoo! Yes! Thank you, everyone. Thank you all for being here. No one took me up on my offer for the front row. I am so excited about Sunday. I saw somebody open their calendar app during that and put in on the 18th, which was very fun to watch. So good job. Heck yeah for everyone here. We are, before we get into the Q&A, I do just want to say we at Show Up Chicago and Blue Beginning also need volunteers. So if you have a skill, something you would like to tell us about, something you would like to help us get involved with, please find us, any of us, after the show and tell us your skill. We want to get you involved. Yes, we are excited to have you all here and be a part of this group. Now we will get to the Q&A. A couple of ground rules, if we will. Please keep your questions concise. If you go on too long, I have been given permission, or to give TJ permission, to play you off Oscar style. So, who has a question? Who has a question? Okay, great, wonderful, thank you so much. What is your name, sir?
Chaz.
Chaz, can you tell us your question, please?
How do you prioritize messaging for postcards when every day has something different to talk about?
Can I just say, I think that was for me, but I feel like I'm on Wait, Don't Tell Me right now. I was like, what does this feel like that I've never been able to do, to being a guest on Wait, Don't Tell Me? So postcards could do anything. We do what we know to be most effective with them, which is to get people who, if they vote, are very likely to vote for Democrats, to actually vote. And the best way to do that based on data is a message that actually focuses on the voting process and uses tactics like reminding your friends and family, thank them for being a voter, letting them know it's public information whether or not you vote. It's private who you vote for, providing information about early voting. So we do a lot of testing. There's 15 years of rigorous studies on that. And so we focus on what's called mobilization within sort of the world of politics in terms of what we ask volunteers to write on postcards.
What does the data show about postcards efficacy?
So, I mean, it all depends. Like when people ask like how effective are postcards, my reaction is like, what are you writing on them? Because it's a piece of paper. When are you sending them? And to whom are you mailing the postcards? Because ultimately those drive it much more than just the mode. But we know that mail is effective. We know that our postcards are effective. The most important driver is like the electoral environment, who you're targeting, what the messages are. So we know that last year our postcards added, probably a couple 100,000 votes across the entire country. We did postcards for all the swing states, but also most of the competitive House districts across the country. Kamala Harris only lost by 229,000 votes, but as Anu said, we only lost the House by 7,000 something votes. We just learned that Allison Riggs finally won the North Carolina Supreme Court race. She won by 734 votes. So, for sure our postcards and everything else that people did were the difference in races like that.
Awesome. Who else? Oh, so sorry. This is a tiny aisle. Could you tell us your name, please?
Hi, I'm Gina.
Awesome, Gina. What is your question?
Probably for Kevin. I'm so impressed that you have 1,500 members after 3 months. Ann and I
have had some help in the back there.
Started a little grassroots organizing group, kind of an independent little group, and we were thrilled when we got up to 80 members. How did you get the word out? Did you use Mobilize, or was it strictly through the Indivisible?
Yeah, so great question. It was sort of a combination of many things. First off, being able to have an ally in Indivisible Chicago Alliance that could just kind of message their list and be like, hey, FYI, if you're on our list, there's a new chapter on the Northwest side, and a lot of you probably live there. So we definitely got a lot of kind of signups through that. I went on, I deleted my Facebook account, so my wife, I've been borrowing her account, which she can tell you how much she loves that. So I kind of just poked around in a lot of like the neighborhood Facebook groups and was just like, hey, FYI, we got this chapter. So got a bunch of people signing up through that. And then just, getting our members to kind of spread the word as well, and showing up on social media with, what we're doing and that type of thing. And I mean, our very first event that we had over 250 people there. We packed an entire bar. And I think, again, that's just a factor of there is a lot of passion and people need somewhere to put it. And so realizing that there was something locally that they could show up to was huge. And it was back then in February that I made the goal. I wanted to triple our membership from around 400 at that point to 1,500 by Memorial Day. And we just reached that number now. So, yeah, it's been good stuff.
And I will say, not all of our chapters are geographically located. We meet here at the Hideout, where Indivisible Blue Beginning did not start in a certain neighborhood. We started with a group of friends. What the heck are we going to do in January of 2017? And Mike Lenahan in the back and I connected, and boy, everybody's calling me, everybody's calling Mike. Let's all get together and see what we can do. So we have a network of friends through the work that we've done, through the relationships that we have, and that's another way to go. And we talked about, if you bring two friends, we've tripled everything. If you've ever been on one of our phone banks, you know about vote tripling. It's not enough just to vote, but if you get 2 more people to vote, you've tripled your impact. So your 80 people could bring you 2 people, and you can triple that way. Do we have more out there?
Any other questions? Yes, ma'am. What is your name?
My name is Dagmar. First of all, I want to thank you for focusing our attention on the long haul and on community. So for me, it's focus on community that I got from you, and I very much appreciate it. However, there are things that at times are burning, and we all know what is burning right now. So can we talk about Gaza? Do you have any plans? Indivisible Chicago has some heft. And do you have any plans on doing any type of action?
I'm not sure I heard exactly what you said is burning right now. I mean, Gaza. There are groups that organize around that issue, and Indivisible is not a lead organization for the issues that are happening in Gaza. We have lent our support in every way that we can to those groups that organize, but we typically look for the impacted community to take the lead, whether it's on immigration issues, whether it's LGBTQ issues, or the Palestine issue. We are supportive of progressive values in all those places, and we bring our sound system, we put it out to our members so they know to take part in those actions, but we don't step to the front on an issue like that. We let those who are directly impacted and directly organizing take the lead. You will find out about those events through us, because we certainly are looking to see peace in that region, but we don't take the lead when it isn't our core issue.
Yes, right here. What is your name?
Hi, my name is Debbie. Hello. I was just wondering, is there a group in the Old Town Gold Coast, our area, in that area? Something in that area?
I think they're included in the Indivisible Downtown Chicago chapter. We do get people from Gold Coast who come over, and one of our more active organizers is Gold Coast.
There's also a Lincoln Park chapter too, right?
Yes, there's a Lincoln Park chapter also. But certainly come to the downtown chapter meeting, and we'd help you get started on the Gold Coast.
Anybody else?
Maureen, we have one up
question?
front.
Oh, I'm coming. Yes, sir.
Make
What is
you a
your name?
bigger aisle
I'm
next time.
Sean. Hi. Oh, sure. So
earlier you guys were talking about the idea of giving people on-ramps to kind of enter gently into activism. That made me think of how we've got these kind of like big splashy events coming up, like the No Kings rally, right? I'm wondering how you guys are thinking about capturing some of the energy that's going to generate, and how you do that, or what sort of follows with that, even on that day. How are you thinking about that?
Yeah, so there's a few ways to look at it. I mean, you can look at it leading up to it, and then after the fact. Leading up to it is a lot of what we were talking about before. With it's all about kind of building these relationships with one another and our neighbors first, because again, if you're a first timer, going to a protest is not always just this easy, accessible thing to do. And especially if you have kids, or you have other concerns, or you're in an impacted community, it can feel very scary and unattainable. And so that's where I think, in order to, again, if we're going to reach that 3.5% of the population, it can't just be, hey, we put up a flyer and this random person shows up. It needs to be hey, come meet us first, come talk to us, learn what we're all about, and then when it is time to go to that protest, we go as a group. We have a whole team on our chapter that's dedicated to rally meetups, and we put out logistic sheets of how to find us and what signs to look for, and we're there as a community. We're not just sending people by themselves, and I think that makes a big difference. And then, when the energy is there, I think it's really important to, as Reid was mentioning, just really showing that the outcomes were powerful. If you look at the April 5th one, search traffic spiked a ton for Trump protests to the highest level they've been in the previous 8 years. And we were at that 1% number. And you need to remind people or show people and make that visible so that they're encouraged to keep doing more of it. Because the worst thing you want is to have someone show up to something and then they feel like it's a waste of time and then they never do it again.
I think we had another in the front row.
Boo. Sorry. What is your name, ma'am?
Jill. So my question is, so I came all the way from the northern burbs because we do have such apathy, and so I wanted to come here where you guys have energy. But at the same time, starting a new chapter, we had a Indivisible chapter, and out of apathy, it folded into Evanston. And then we have Lake County Dems and 10th Dems, but they're very business as usual. So I don't want to dilute, an organization when, there's almost a lack of energy. But at the same time, I'm frustrated by not this type of energy where I'm located.
There are more chapters coming up all the time. I think Bill's still in the back. I know there's a Skokie chapter that might be a little closer to you, and there's a Northwest suburb now too, right?
Chapter too.
Yes.
So
Glenview?
So we had a North Shore chapter, and it folded into the Evanston chapter.
Okay, so you're looking North Shore.
So it's more a matter of, like I said, I think where I'm located, the organization is done around 10th Dems and Lake County Dems, but they are very, as if, the world isn't, right, exactly. And so, and so that's what I'm struggling with, but at the same time, I don't want to, I want us to be a unified group and work all as one as Dems and, build, momentum. And so, so I've just been trying to figure out what, we're hosting, and similar to what you guys had last month, an ACLU activator event, just a one-off, May 22nd. But yes, I've been trying to figure out, should we start a chapter again, or what we should do.
I wouldn't. I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I wouldn't worry about diluting Evanston's chapter. If people are traveling from, say, Wilmette to go to Evanston, they would welcome having a group closer.
No, we had a chapter, and it got folded into Evanston out of lack of.
But I'm wondering if that apathy, now that things are different, there might not be that apathy. And if you wanted to start a group and some folks from Evanston ended up staying closer to home, that's okay. Yeah, I think that would be fine.
I don't think you can have too many chapters.
Yeah, the more the merrier, yeah.
Yeah, and I would just say, be the change you wish to see in the world, right? If you want it to go a different way, step up, lead it. And, a lot of what we're finding, too, is, people will come to you if they like your approach and if they like who you are and if you can especially put a human face on it. Because we have people, we're on the Northwest side, but we have people from all over the city. I have people from Indiana that are reaching out to our chapter that want to do stuff with us because they like the way we're running it, and they like our messaging, and they like the way we're, so like there is room for you. And again, if you can get 30 more people that wouldn't otherwise show up, that's a win.
Yep.
That's probably a conversation at this event. You're already doing an event that's going to be well attended because it's a great topic, and you have great guests. You might ask people, we're thinking about starting a chapter. If anyone's interested, see me after.
I'll just chime in because you mentioned like the county Dems as well, and as a chair of the second largest county Dem organization, like, you know, what I think a lot of people don't realize is that, and this isn't going to be everywhere, but like Democratic organizations are volunteer driven as well. Like I'm in a county of 920,000 people. We have 0 full-time employees. I'm a volunteer. It's 1 million people and all volunteers. And so a lot of times they're the first organizations to be totally overwhelmed because there's all these expectations and official things and circulating petitions, and there's just things that a Democratic organization has to do. It's the bureaucracy of the party. And so volunteers can come in and be the change within the Democratic Party as well, and change starts from within. And so, you know, when I was like, we're going to do a 30-mile protest, and the first organization is going to be the county Democratic organization, a lot of people were like, that's really weird. And I was like, we're going to still, you know, work with all the grassroots groups and build that out. And you know, so I think that you know, you can both be a grassroots person and a Democratic person, and turn the Democratic Party into what it needs to be from the bottom up as well.
All right, one more here, ma'am. What is your name?
Hi, I'm Lisa. I'm with Jilla. We're from the northern suburbs, like she said, so I may be missing something, but we've been to many protests, including the Hands Off in Chicago, Tesla ones, wherever we can go. So I've seen a lot of who's coming to those protests, and even like on the train there, the trains are filled with people like us, our age and older, and I am looking to figure out, how do we reach the younger generation? I'm not that there are many young people doing great things, but I still feel like we're not. Like, what is the message that I'm missing to get the young people excited and come and do this stuff with us more than we currently are?
Well, I was going to say, so our chapter is highly focused on this exact problem. And in fact, my Zillennial Outreach Director is in the back right there. Devin, woohoo!
Where's Devin? Yeah, Devin, woohoo!
Yeah, Devin, would you like to weigh in on this?
Hi. Do you want to weigh in on young people?
Yes.
Yes, you are now the expert on young people.
Well, yeah, what are you doing with us? How are you solving this problem?
So it's starting with small groups. So we've had like 3 happy hours now. It's tapping into our social media. It's making sure that our messaging is like catered in a way that's accessible, making political activism fun, like giving young people the opportunity to come together, which is kind of like, it's a different tone, I think, because it's like so small and so casual, but yeah.
But what is the message? Like, what is the general activism message you're getting to them that's different? You know, like, what's getting them to go, yeah, I want to come to this?
What's worked so far is, the problem is like getting people in the door, like getting young people in the door, and it's like giving them a space to come together and speak freely and not like shove politics down their throats. Like, that's the difference. It's like inviting them, not forcing them.
Does the message have to come from someone who's younger? Do you think that's important?
I think it's worked so far.
Yeah, it's very important.
I'll add that. Well, no, you go first, and then
I don't know about that, because for whatever reason, the Swing Left Chicago group tends to be on the younger side. So I, to be honest with you, like, I don't know what messaging it is, because it's not like all Swing Left groups are on the younger side, but for whatever reason, Swing Left Chicago is on the younger side. I've asked, like, I haven't asked, like, hey, young one, like, why are you here? But just asked, like, you know, what made you decide to come out? A lot of it's because, this is going to sound silly, but, like, we hang out at, like, different bars throughout the city. It's just very low touch in the sense that we do a lot of letter writing. And so it seems like, all right, you can come, you can have a beer, have some food, like, write some letters. All the stuff is taken care of for you. And, you know, right. That's probably what it is. And so, like, you can just, like, do it and then leave. Right? So, again, like, I don't know exactly what messaging they do within Swing Left. I think, like, if you look at the website, it's got a very modern design and all that kind of stuff, and everything is just very easy to follow. So I don't know exactly what that is.
I had an insight. I was at the Young Dems of North Carolina convention in 2023, and they had some Gen Z speakers. And something that hadn't dawned on me, and they helped me understand why, is that Jeff Jackson, who is the white, looks like me, similar age attorney general now and a veteran, is one of the most influential people to Gen Z. And it is because it's not screaming that everything is an emergency directly at the generation that grew up with more trauma than any previous generation. Because when it's like everything is on one, Facebook, and two, the sky is falling, it doesn't matter whether that's true or not. It's just like the trauma takes over. So, and this is much more about like, his style on social media, but it is just like calm, soothing authority with just some real actual information that's not just all dressed up with polemics and outrage and what triggers the trauma. And so that's not a direct answer, but it doesn't have to come directly from young folks. I mean, generally my advice to this question is like, find the young people that are active and get in line and ask how we can support what they're doing, so turn it around. But I do think that framework of like everything is an emergency is a huge obstacle. So.
Yeah, and the one thing I'll add on the trauma front too, this is something Devin tells me all the time, and she'll be presenting at our town hall tomorrow too, is the fact that the younger generations, they're really getting screwed economically in terms of like their opportunities and what they can afford. And so like, yeah, I mean, a big reason why they're not out here is because they're just in survival mode and they're trying to like make ends meet. And so when we can do things like you were saying, like, provide spaces for them, or, one of the things that Devin's looking to do is put together like a resource network amongst our young people within our chapter to help provide services to one another where money isn't this big issue between it. Like, you got to meet people where they are, and they are struggling from a financial standpoint, and we can't just expect them to be able to drop everything and come out to a protest the same way that we who are in better financial situations can.
And in terms of meeting them where they are, pretty sure they're not on Facebook.
Yeah.
Shout out Devin, though, who just got put on the spot. Everyone, round of applause,
yeah,
Devin. Thank you very much. Hey, Devin. Okay, ma'am, what is your name?
Carol. My question is, what is being done in regard to Hands Across Chicago to engage organizations of people of color? And I have a similar question about other public events sponsored by Indivisible. I was very surprised to see at Hands Off. So I want to know what's being done to engage them with our efforts and us with theirs.
So I think there's probably two answers to this. I'll talk about Hands Across Chicagoland. One of the first things we did is reach out to a lot of the leaders in the Latino community. So the 22nd Ward Alderman, Mike Rodriguez, was like, you should route this through 26th Street. And with the alderman's permission, we did. Chuy Garcia, Delia's team, Lisa Hernandez is going to be a speaker. Norma Hernandez, who's the chair of the Latino caucus, is going to speak there. So our partner list of organizations doesn't have as many sort of listed partners, but from the community leaders in Little Village in particular, it was a priority to make sure we had partners in the MENA community, so Illinois Muslim Action Network. It can take a little bit longer through those relationships to sort of build that trust and to engage them as partners to these activities. We reached out to folks in Proviso Township, the African American community, as well. I think it can be sometimes inevitable that the majority of people that show up to protests are sort of older and whiter, and that's because we have too often the privilege of time and sort of the attention to be able to engage. That's never an excuse for not trying to build those relationships into the communities that are most impacted, and try to make sure that, one, you have permission to be in their space, and ways that you can support sort of the actions that are going on that are led by the impacted communities. So, May Day is a phenomenal example of that, where groups like Indivisible Chicago supported, not led from the front, the efforts around immigrants' rights and workers' rights.
Thank you very much. That's
and I think from
great.
an Indivisible standpoint, I don't think there's a day that goes by that we don't ask that question of ourselves and the ways to do it. And some chapters are more successful than others. The West Side chapter that's reconstituted from Oak Park chapter is now more regional and quite diverse, and spent a lot of time rebuilding relationships with communities that hadn't participated. And that's one thing. And also, I would say we work with unions that often will get us to a more diverse population and bring those folks to the event. Every event, mass protest or not, that you attend is not necessarily an Indivisible event.
One more? Do we have? Just kidding. Yes. What is your name?
Hey, I'm Patrick. I like to go to protests, but I know that a lot of them are organized by many various diverse organizations, and I'm not on all of those lists. Is there some sort of aggregator site or calendar or email list that has a confluence of the organizations and their actions that people can sign up for?
It's almost like that's a planted last question, Mark.
IndivisiBleChicago.com has a calendar. You can sign up. Please do sign up there for our daily actions that will share these events with you. But I will say every single event that's held is not there, and the reason is, from some of the questions that we've answered so far, you can tell we're careful about understanding who is organizing it, how they're reaching out to the right communities, whether they are the proper leadership for an impacted community for that event to be held, and whether that's the right partner for us. We network, we talk to the people doing these events, we support them in the ways that make sense, and when there are events that we don't feel are fully buttoned down, maybe they haven't planned for any marshals so that the protesters have safety when they arrive, or some other issues that we know are important for a good, solid, safe event, it will not be on our calendar. Bill, is there anything I left out about that?
Sounds good.
Okay. I think IndivisiBleChicago.com is as close as you're going to get.
And sign
to
up for
the answer.
daily actions too,
The
because they'll come through on
actions.
the daily actions.
Let me give it another little answer to that question, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
This is Mike. Yeah.
Almost,
I could recognize his
almost
voice.
every organization that's organizing is using Mobilize. So if you go to mobilize.us and you put in your zip code, you will find 98% of what's going on, and the rest of it is not going to be reaching people anyway, so you might as well not bother.
Wise words from Mike. All right. Oh, good. All righty. I think that wraps it up. I'll send it back to the panel. Yes. Just kidding.
Thank you all for coming.
Thank you, everyone.
See you at the bar. Thanks
We
so
will
much
see
for
you at the
coming.
bar. Tip your bartenders. Thank you, The Hideout. Thank you all for being here. Have a wonderful night. Get home safe.